The red lights flashed across the command center as alarms screamed through the air. Intelligence Director Cole Mirren stared at his screens with wide eyes, his blue-scaled hands shaking as he touched the controls. Something was very wrong in the Zephyrian Empire's most protected space. "Sir, we have a problem," said one of his officers, her voice trembling. "There's a ship inside our defense grid." Supreme Admiral Vexathara stormed into the room, his tall frame casting shadows across the glowing panels. His yellow eyes burned with anger as he looked at the displays. "What do you mean inside our grid? Nothing gets through our defenses. Nothing has gotten through in 500 years. Colamiran pulled up the sensor readings on the main screen. A single ship floated calmly in space, right in the heart of their capital system. It was smaller than their battleships, but bigger than their cruisers. The design looked strange, almost primitive. "How did it get there?" Vexathera demanded, his voice echoing through the room. "We don't know, sir," Colamiran replied, sweat forming on his forehead despite the cool air. "Our sensors show nothing. No breach alarms, no warnings, no signs of forced entry. It's like the ship just appeared." The Supreme Admiral grabbed the nearest console and pulled up the defense grid status. Layer after layer of energy shields surrounded their capital world. Weapon platforms floated in perfect formation. Sensor arrays watched every direction. Everything showed green. Everything was working perfectly. "Run a full diagnostic," Vexathara ordered. "Check every system twice." Meanwhile, far across the system, Admiral Lyrale Moonwhisper watched the chaos from her elven ship. Her pointed ears twitched with interest as she listened to the Zephyrian communications. The Sylvani had been allies with the Empire for 3 centuries, but she had never seen them this panicked. "Captain Melody, what do you think?" she asked her young officer. Captain Melody Nightbreeze studied the unknown ship through their long-range sensors. "It's definitely not Zephyrian or Sylvani, Admiral. The technology looks different. Simpler in some ways, but there's something about it that feels clever." Back in the command center, more reports came in. The mysterious ship was broadcasting on standard frequencies, asking for permission to speak with Empire officials. The message was polite but firm. "Sir, they're requesting a meeting," reported the communications officer. "They say they come in peace, but will defend themselves if attacked." Vexathara laughed, but there was no humor in the sound. "They think they can threaten us? One ship against the entire Imperial fleet?" On the bridge of the UHS Valiant, Captain Maya Rodriguez sat calmly in her command chair. She was a small woman with dark hair and steady brown eyes, but her crew looked at her with complete trust. Around her, human officers worked at their stations with quiet efficiency. "Lieutenant Commander Park, how are our systems?" Maya asked. Lisa Park, the ship's chief engineer, checked her displays. "All green, Captain. The adaptive shielding is working perfectly. They can't get a clear reading on us." "Good work, Lisa." Maya turned to her tactical officer. "Commander Sullivan, what's our position?" Kate Sullivan, a tall woman with red hair, smiled slightly. "We're right where we want to be, Captain. If they try to surround us, they'll have to move carefully or risk hitting their own installations." Dr. Amanda Foster, the ship's xenobiologist, looked up from her translation console. "Captain, I'm monitoring their communications. They're very confused and starting to get scared. The intelligence director is running every test he can think of." Maya nodded. She had studied the Zephyrian Empire for years, learning their language and customs through intercepted signals. Humanity had been watching the galaxy for decades, preparing for this moment. "Open a channel to the Zephyrian fleet," she ordered. Tantu. Main screen showed Supreme Admiral Vexathara's face, his yellow eyes blazing with anger. Behind him, dozens of officers scrambled at their stations. "I am Captain Maya Rodriguez of the United Human States ship Valiant," she said calmly. "We request safe passage through your space for peaceful purposes." Vexathara's expression showed his shock. The primitive ship's captain looked so calm, so confident. "You will explain how you breached our defenses immediately, or we will destroy you." Maya smiled politely. "We use the same trade routes your merchant ships use, Admiral. We simply timed our approach better than most." "Impossible," Vexathara snapped. "Our sensors would have detected you." "Your sensors are very good," Maya agreed. "But they're designed to look for ships that fight like you do. We fight differently." In the background, Colmiran whispered urgently to his staff. His teams had found something disturbing. The human ship's energy signature was almost identical to their own ships when viewed from certain angles. Somehow, they had learned to mimic Zephyrian technology. Admiral Lyrelai watched this exchange with growing interest. The human captain seemed completely unafraid despite being surrounded by ships that could destroy her vessel easily. There was something about her confidence that reminded Lyra Lee of the old stories, when the Sylvani had been explorers instead of followers. "Admiral," Captain Melody said quietly, "I'm detecting some unusual energy patterns from the human ship. It's almost like they're using our biotech principles but with their own engineering." Lyrelai raised an eyebrow. The Sylvani were known for their ability to grow technology rather than build it. If the humans had somehow learned to copy that approach, they might be more advanced than they appeared. Back on the Valiant's bridge, Maya received a private message from her communications officer. Other human ships were in position at the edge of the system, waiting for her signal. Earth's first contact mission had been planned carefully for many years. "Admiral Vexithara," Maya said calmly, "we understand your concern about security, but we're not here to fight or to invade. We're here because it's time for humanity to take its place in the galaxy." "What do you mean by that?" Vexithara demanded. "We've been watching you for a long time," Maya replied. "We've learned your languages, studied your cultures, and prepared for this day. We know about the Zephyrian Empire and the Sylvani people. We know about your alliance and your trade routes. We know more than you think we do." Emperor Zarketh himself appeared on the screen, his massive form imposing even through the communication link. His voice was deep and commanding. "You speak of watching us. You admit to spying on the Empire." "We prefer to call it learning," Maya said respectfully. "When a species is ready to join the galactic community, shouldn't they understand their neighbors first?" The Emperor's expression showed his surprise. No one had ever spoken to him so directly while remaining polite. "You believe you're ready to join our community?" "We believe we're ready to create a new kind of community," Maya answered. "One based on cooperation rather than domination." Vexithara slammed his fist on his console. "Enough of this talk. You will surrender your ship and submit to Imperial authority." Maya's smile never wavered. "I'm afraid that won't be possible, Admiral. You see, we're not alone." As if on cue, sensors across the Zephyrian fleet began detecting new contacts. More. Human ships were approaching from different directions, each one somehow having bypassed the outer defenses. The impossible had happened not once, but many times. Colmiran's voice cracked as he reported, "Sir, we're detecting multiple contacts. At least 6 more ships, all of similar design. They're coming from different vectors." Emperor Zarketh stared at the tactical display as red dots appeared around his capital system. Each dot represented a security failure that should have been impossible. His empire's greatest strength had been turned into a weakness. Maya Rodriguez sat back in her chair, still calm despite the chaos she had caused. "Now then, shall we discuss how humanity can contribute to galactic civilization?" Supreme Admiral Vexithara moved his fleet into attack formation around the human ships. His massive dreadnought led 50 warships in a careful dance through space, surrounding the intruders while avoiding damage to the capital system's installations. The humans had positioned themselves cleverly, but he was confident that superior numbers and technology would end this quickly. "All ships, maintain formation," he commanded. "We will show these primitives what happens when they challenge the Empire." The UHS Valiant floated calmly in the center of the formation, seemingly unconcerned by the weapons pointed at it. Captain Maya Rodriguez studied her tactical displays while her crew worked with quiet efficiency around her. "Dr. Foster, are you ready?" Maya asked. Amanda Foster adjusted her translation equipment and nodded. She was a small woman with bright eyes who had spent years learning alien languages from intercepted communications. "All channels are open, Captain. I can speak to both the Zephyrians and the Sylvani in their own languages," Maya smiled. "Then, let's begin our formal introduction to the galaxy." The main screen activated, showing both Supreme Admiral Vexithara and Admiral Lyrelai. The Zephyrian looked angry and impatient, while the elf appeared curious and thoughtful. "Greetings," Dr. Foster said, switching smoothly between languages. "I am Dr. Amanda Foster, speaking for the human species. We have come to meet our galactic neighbors and discuss our future together." Vexathara's expression showed his shock. The human woman spoke perfect Zephyrian, using formal diplomatic terms that even his own officers sometimes struggled with. How do you know our language? We've been listening to your broadcasts for many years, Amanda replied. Your empire sends signals across space for trade and communication. We learned from those signals. Admiral Lerale leaned forward with interest. You've been studying us without making contact? Amanda nodded respectfully. It seemed wise to understand galactic civilization before introducing ourselves. We wanted to approach you as equals, not as primitives seeking guidance. On her ship, Lyrale found herself impressed by the human approach. The Sylvani had been contacted by the Zephyrians centuries ago, when they were still using simple wooden ships. They had been treated as useful but inferior partners ever since. Show me your true capabilities, Vexathara demanded. Prove you're more than clever primitives with stolen technology. Lieutenant Commander Lisa Park looked up from her engineering station. She was a young woman with quick hands and an even quicker mind. Captain, shall I demonstrate our adaptive systems? Go ahead, Lisa, Maya replied. Lisa's fingers danced across her controls. The UHS Valiant's hull began to shimmer and change color. Energy patterns flowed across its surface like water, creating a light show that captured everyone's attention. Our ships can adapt to different environments, Lisa explained through the communication link. We don't build one type of technology and use it everywhere. We change our technology to match what we need. Colmiran studied his sensors carefully. The human ship's energy signature was shifting constantly, making it difficult to target accurately. Their technology seemed to learn and evolve in real time. Interesting, Admiral Lyrale said quietly. Your approach reminds me of Sylvani biotechnology, but you're using different principles. Commander Kate Sullivan activated her tactical displays. The tall redhead had served in Earth's military for 15 years before joining the Space Fleet. Admiral Vexathara, notice our position relative to your ships. The Zephyrian admiral looked at his own displays and realized what she meant. The human ship had positioned itself so that any attack would risk hitting Zephyrian installations or other Imperial ships. Without seeming to move aggressively, they had created a defensive advantage. You think you're clever? Vexathara said. But his voice carried a note of respect now. We think we're practical, Kate replied. We prefer to solve problems without fighting when possible. Captain Melody Nightbreeze watched from the Sylvani observation deck. She was young for a ship captain, but her people valued fresh thinking. Admiral, they're not behaving like any species we've encountered before. Lorelei nodded thoughtfully. The humans seemed confident without being arrogant, prepared without being aggressive. They reminded her of the old Sylvani explorers who had traveled between worlds using wit and wisdom rather than force. Dr. Foster, Lorelei said, how long has your species been preparing for contact? Amanda smiled. Earth has been listening to galactic communications for over 60 years. We've been preparing for this conversation for most of that time. 60 years of spying, Vexathara accused. 60 years of learning, Amanda corrected gently. We discovered that the galaxy contains many intelligent species with different strengths and abilities. We wanted to understand how we might contribute to galactic civilization. Emperor Zarketh's voice came through the communication system. What makes you think you have anything to contribute? Captain Rodriguez leaned forward. Because we approach problems differently than you do, Your Majesty. You've built a galaxy based on technological superiority and military strength. That works well, but it's not the only way. Explain, the Emperor commanded. Maya gestured to, her crew. Look at my ship. By your standards, our technology is primitive. We use fusion drives instead of antimatter. We use kinetic weapons instead of energy beams. Our computers are slower than yours. Then how did you breach our defenses? Vexathara demanded. Because our technology adapts, Lisa Park explained. Your defenses are designed to stop ships that fight like Zephyrian ships. We don't fight like Zephyrian ships. Kate Sullivan brought up a tactical projection. Your defense grid is magnificent, Admiral, but it's designed to keep specific threats out. We studied those defenses and found ways to work with them instead of against them. Admiral Lyralai found herself fascinated by the human approach. You used our own systems to help you? In a way, Amanda replied. We followed the same energy patterns that your merchant ships use. We matched the same communication frequencies. We became part of the background noise until we were ready to reveal ourselves. Counselor Althea Starweaver joined the conversation from the Silvani diplomatic vessel. She was an older elf with silver hair and wise eyes. This is a remarkable achievement, but what are your intentions now? Maya looked directly at the camera. We want to join galactic civilization as equals. We offer our technology, our resources, and our perspective in exchange for recognition and mutual defense agreements. You want to be equals with the Empire? Vexthera laughed harshly. You have one ship. Actually, we have 7 ships in your system right now, Kate corrected. And many more waiting just outside your sensor range. The tactical displays updated to show the positions of the other human vessels. Each one had taken a different approach to penetrating the defenses, demonstrating various aspects of human ingenuity. How many more? Emperor Zarketh asked quietly. Enough, Maya replied simply. But we didn't come here to threaten you, Your Majesty. We came to prove that we belong in the galaxy. Colmiran whispered urgently to his staff. His intelligence. Teams had been analyzing the human ships and finding disturbing patterns. The humans had somehow learned to predict Zephyrian responses and position themselves accordingly. Director, one of his officers reported, we're detecting communication signals between the human ships and something outside our sensor range. They're coordinating with additional forces. Lirale made a decision that would change galactic history. Admiral Rodriguez, would you be willing to allow a small Silvani delegation aboard your ship? Maya smiled. We would be honored to receive Silvani visitors, Admiral Lirale. Vexthera's eyes widened. Admiral, what are you doing? Learning, Lirale replied, using the same word the humans had used. These people have achieved something remarkable. Perhaps we should understand how before we decide what to do about it. Captain Melody received her orders and prepared a small shuttle. As she flew toward the human ship, she wondered what kind of people could remain so calm while surrounded by an Imperial fleet. The shuttle docked with the UHS Valiance Bay, and Melody found herself in a corridor that looked surprisingly familiar. The walls were covered with growing plants, similar to Silvani bioships but using different principles. Dr. Foster met her at the airlock. Welcome aboard, Captain Nightbreeze. I hope you'll find our ship interesting. As they walked through the corridors, Melody saw human and technology working together in ways she had never imagined. The ship seemed alive, but not in the same way as Silvani vessels. It was more like a partnership between living beings and intelligent machines. Your ship feels different, Melody observed. We believe technology should serve life, not replace it, Amanda explained. Everything on this ship is designed to work with humans, not just for humans. Meanwhile, back on the Imperial flagship, Emperor Zarketh was receiving reports that made him increasingly uncomfortable. The humans had demonstrated capabilities that challenged every assumption about technological development and military strategy. Your Majesty, Colmiran reported, our analysis suggests these humans have been planning this contact for decades. Every aspect of their approach shows careful study of our methods and responses. The Emperor stared at the tactical display showing human ships calmly holding position despite being outnumbered 10-1. What do they really want? Perhaps, suggested a quiet voice, they want exactly what they said they want. The Emperor turned to see who had spoken so boldly, but the voice belonged to one of his oldest advisors. Explain. They could have attacked our installations while we focused on their ships. They could have used our confusion to strike at our government. Instead, they asked for a conversation. Perhaps they truly do want to join galactic civilization. As the standoff continued, ships from 3 different species hung in space, each group trying to understand the others. The humans had achieved their goal of making contact as equals, but now came the harder task of building a relationship that would benefit everyone. Intelligence Director Colmiran worked through the night cycle, his teams running analysis after analysis on the human incursion. Deep in the Intelligence Center's most secure levels, screens showed data that made his scales turn pale with worry. The humans had not simply breached their defenses once. They had found dozens of weaknesses that had existed for years. Sir, you need to see this, his chief analyst said, her voice shaking. We've found 17 different approach vectors the humans could have used. 17 ways to penetrate our defenses that we never noticed. Colmiran studied the projections with growing alarm. Trade routes, communication blind spots, maintenance schedules, even the rotation patterns of patrol ships. The humans had mapped everything with frightening accuracy. "How long would it take to fix these security gaps?" he asked. "Years, sir. Maybe decades. We'd have to rebuild the entire defense grid from scratch." Meanwhile, aboard the UHS Valiant, Captain Melody Nightbreeze found herself in the ship's botanical section with Dr. Amanda Foster. Plants from Earth grew alongside samples from other worlds, creating a garden that felt both alien and familiar. "Your ship carries living things," Melody observed. "The Zephyrians use only machines." Amanda smiled as she touched a flowering vine. "We believe diversity makes us stronger. These plants clean our air, provide food, and remind us of home. But they also help us understand other worlds." Melody noticed that some of the alien plants looked similar to Silvani specimens. "How did you obtain samples from our worlds?" "We followed your trade ships," Amanda admitted. "Not to spy, but to learn. When your merchants stopped at uninhabited worlds for supplies, we studied the same places. We wanted to understand what kinds of life flourish in this galaxy." The young elf captain found herself impressed by human thoroughness. They had spent decades preparing for contact, learning not just languages and technology, but biology and ecology as well. "Dr. Foster, may I ask you something personal?" "Of course. Are you afraid? Your ship is surrounded by vessels that could destroy you easily." Amanda considered the question carefully. "Fear is natural when facing the unknown. But we've prepared for this moment for most of our lives. We know the risks, and we believe the potential benefits make those risks worthwhile." On the Silvani flagship, Admiral Lyreley received a private communication from Captain Melody. The young officer described her tour of the human ship with growing excitement. "Admiral, their technology is remarkable. They use principles similar to our biotech, but applied in completely different ways. Their ship isn't grown like ours, but it adapts and changes like a living thing." Lyreley listened thoughtfully. The Silvani had been junior partners to the Zephyrian Empire for 3 centuries, providing biological expertise while the Empire provided military protection. But the humans offered something different. They offered partnership between equals. "Captain, what is your assessment of their military capabilities?" "Their ship is smaller than our cruisers, but I believe it would be very difficult to defeat in combat. Everything is designed for adaptation and survival. They don't try to overpower enemies, they outsmart them." Counselor Althea joined the conversation from her diplomatic vessel. "Admiral, I've been monitoring Zephyrian communications. Emperor Zarketh is becoming personally involved in this situation. What are your thoughts, Counselor?" "The humans have achieved something remarkable. They've forced the Empire to treat them as equals from the moment of first contact. No species has managed that before." Lyreley made a decision that would have far-reaching consequences. "Arrange a private meeting with Captain Rodriguez. I want to discuss possibilities that might benefit both our peoples." Back on the human ship, Lieutenant Commander Lisa Park was showing Captain Melody the engineering section. The space hummed with quiet energy as human and artificial intelligence worked together to maintain the ship's systems. "Your computers are different," Melody observed. "They seem to think for themselves." "They do in a way," Lisa explained. "But they're designed to work with us, not replace us. Every decision requires both human judgment and computer analysis." Melody watched the engineers work with their machines like dancers performing a complex routine. "The Zephyrians believe machines should serve without question." "That works for them," Lisa said diplomatically. "But we've found that partnership creates better solutions than domination." On the Imperial flagship, Supreme Admiral Vexathara studied intelligence reports with growing frustration. Every analysis showed the same conclusion. The humans were not primitive invaders who had gotten lucky. They were a sophisticated species that had chosen to reveal themselves when they were ready. "Admiral," his tactical officer reported, "we've completed our assessment of their defensive capabilities. Their ships are positioned so that any attack would require us to risk significant collateral damage. And if we accept that risk, Computer models suggest a 70% chance of destroying their ships, but the cost would be severe damage to our own installations and possible civilian casualties. Vexthera realized the humans had achieved something that no enemy had managed in 500 years. They had made themselves too expensive to attack. Emperor Zarketh summoned his council to an emergency session. Around the table sat the most powerful beings in the Empire, all struggling to understand how their perfect security had been compromised so completely. "Intelligence Director, report," the Emperor commanded. Colmaran's presentation showed the uncomfortable truth. "Your Majesty, the humans have been studying us for decades. They know our ship designs, our tactical doctrines, our defensive strategies. They planned this contact mission with full knowledge of how we would respond. Then they know our weaknesses." "Yes, Your Majesty. But they also know our strengths. Their approach suggests they want cooperation, not conquest." One of the council members, an elderly Zephyrian with scarred scales, spoke carefully. "Your Majesty, perhaps we should consider what they're offering. They claim to have technologies we lack. What could primitives offer the Empire?" Dr. Amanda Foster's voice came through the communication system as she joined the council meeting remotely. "If I may, Your Majesty, we offer a different perspective on problem solving." The Emperor was surprised by her directness. "Explain." "Your Empire has grown strong through technological superiority and military might, but you've reached the limits of that approach. Your defenses are perfect against enemies who fight like you do, but vulnerable to those who think differently. You're suggesting we need your help?" "We're suggesting mutual cooperation would benefit everyone," Amanda replied. "You have knowledge and resources we need. We have insights and techniques you could use." Admiral Liralai requested permission to speak privately with Captain Rodriguez. The two leaders met in a secure channel while their ships floated nearby. "In the vast emptiness of space, Captain, I must ask you directly, what are your people's true intentions?" Maya considered her words carefully. "Admiral, Earth has been alone in space for all of our history. We've watched the galaxy from a distance, dreaming of the day we could join the community of intelligent species. We want to contribute to something greater than ourselves. And you believe you're ready for that responsibility? We believe we're ready to try. We know we have much to learn, but we also know we have something to offer." Liralai found herself moved by the human captain's honesty. "What would you need from the Silvani?" "Partnership," Maya replied simply. "We've studied your biotechnology with great admiration. Combined with our adaptive engineering, we might create something neither of us could achieve alone." "And what would you offer in return?" "Our perspective, our resources, and our friendship. We don't want subjects or servants. We want allies." Captain Melody returned to her ship with her mind full of new ideas. She had seen technology that challenged everything she thought she knew about space travel and engineering. The humans had achieved remarkable things with what the Empire considered primitive tools. "Admiral," she reported, "I believe these humans could teach us much about adaptation and innovation. Their ship is like nothing I've ever seen." Liralai made her decision. "Signal Captain Rodriguez. Inform her that the Silvani are interested in exploring cooperative possibilities." The message sent shockwaves through the Imperial fleet. For the first time in 3 centuries, the Silvani were acting independently of Zephyrian authority. Intelligence Director Colmiran brought disturbing news to Supreme Admiral Vexthera. "Sir, our analysis suggests the humans may not be acting alone. We're detecting communication patterns that indicate contact with other species." "What other species?" "Unknown, sir, but the signals suggest a network of cooperation that extends beyond this system." Emperor Zarketh received this news with growing concern. The humans had not simply found a way to penetrate Imperial defenses. They had apparently been building relationships with other species while the Empire remained unaware. "How many other species might be involved?" he asked. "We have no way to know, Your Majesty. The humans have been more careful about their communications than we anticipated." On the UHS Valiant, Captain Rodriguez received reports from her other ships. Each vessel had made contact with different aspects of galactic civilization, gathering information and assessing opportunities for cooperation. "Captain," Commander Kate Sullivan reported, "our reconnaissance ships confirmed that several species, in this region have grown tired of Imperial dominance. The Sylvani aren't the only ones looking for alternatives. Maya nodded thoughtfully. Earth's first contact mission had been designed to succeed regardless of the initial response. If the Empire proved hostile, they would work with other species. If the Empire proved cooperative, they would work with everyone. Dr. Foster, what's your assessment of our situation? Amanda studied her diplomatic reports. We've achieved our primary objective of establishing contact as equals. Both the Zephyrians and Sylvani are taking us seriously. Now we need to prove that cooperation benefits everyone. Lieutenant Commander Park discovered something important in her technical analysis. Captain, I've found a critical vulnerability in the Zephyrian defense grid. It's not a weakness we can exploit for attack, but it's something we could help them fix. Maya smiled. Excellent work, Lisa. That might be exactly what we need to prove our good intentions. As the standoff continued, 3 species found themselves at a crossroads. The humans had demonstrated that the galaxy's balance of power could be changed by intelligence and preparation. The Sylvani had discovered that alternatives to Imperial dominance might be possible. The Zephyrians had learned that their perfect security was an illusion. The question now was whether they could build something new together or whether fear and pride would drive them toward conflict. Emperor Zarketh stood before the massive viewing screen in his throne room, watching the tactical display that showed human ships calmly maintaining their positions despite being surrounded. His advisors waited silently behind him as he made the decision that would define his reign. Send the ultimatum, he commanded. The humans will surrender their ships and submit to Imperial authority within 1 standard hour, or face the full power of our fleet. The message reached Captain Maya Rodriguez as she sat in her command chair, still calm despite the growing tension around her ship. She read the Emperor's demands carefully before looking up at her crew. Well, everyone, it seems we've reached the moment of truth, she said quietly. Dr. Foster, are you ready to call the Emperor's bluff? Amanda Foster checked her communication, equipment, and nodded. All channels are prepared, Captain. Earth's message is ready for broadcast. Maya activated the main screen, showing Emperor Zarketh's imposing figure. Behind him, she could see the massive throne room filled with Imperial officials and military officers. Your Majesty, Maya said respectfully, I'm afraid we cannot accept your ultimatum. We didn't come here to surrender or submit. We came here to change the galaxy. The Emperor's eyes blazed with anger. You dare refuse the Empire's authority? We dare to offer something better, Maya replied. Your Majesty, Earth has been in contact with 17 different species across the galaxy. We know about the Korthax rebellion in the Outer Rim. We know about the Velian resistance in the southern sectors. We know about dozens of worlds that have grown tired of Imperial rule. Gasps echoed through the throne room as Maya revealed the scope of human intelligence gathering. The Empire's carefully maintained image of total control was cracking before everyone's eyes. You're lying, Vexithera accused from his flagship. Dr. Foster activated her communication array and began broadcasting on multiple frequencies. Across the galaxy, hidden receivers picked up her signal and retransmitted it to worlds that had lost hope of freedom. We're not lying, Maya said calmly. Earth has been building a network of cooperation while the Empire focused on domination. We're not here to conquer anyone. We're here to offer an alternative. Admiral Lyrelai watched this exchange with growing amazement. The humans hadn't simply penetrated Zephyrian defenses. They had been building a galaxy-wide resistance movement. Without anyone realizing it, Captain Melody received urgent messages from Sylvani colonies throughout the Empire. The human broadcast was reaching worlds that had been silent for centuries, carrying messages of hope and possibility. Admiral, Melody reported, our outer colonies are responding to the human signal. They're asking if the rumors about cooperation are true. Lyrelai made the decision that would change Sylvani history. Signal all Sylvani ships in the system. We are withdrawing from our alliance with the Zephyrian Empire effective immediately. The announcement sent shockwaves through both fleets. Sylvani ships began moving away from Imperial formations, taking defensive positions that clearly showed their new independence. Emperor Zarketh stared at the tactical display as green dots, representing Sylvani vessels separated from his blue Imperial ships. Admiral Lyrelai, what is the meaning of this betrayal? It's not betrayal, Your Majesty. Lyrale replied from her flagship. It's evolution. The Sylvani choose to explore new possibilities for galactic civilization. Lieutenant Commander Lisa, Park had been monitoring Zephyrian communications and made a disturbing discovery. Captain, I'm detecting massive fleet movements throughout the Empire. They're mobilizing everything they have. Commander Kate Sullivan studied the tactical data with growing concern. Captain, if they're willing to risk everything to stop us, here, they might attack regardless of the consequences. Maya nodded grimly. The moment she had hoped to avoid was approaching rapidly. Dr. Foster, is the quantum beacon ready? Yes, Captain. Earth Command is standing by for your signal. Deep in the intelligence center, Colmiran discovered something that made his blood run cold. Admiral Vexithara, you need to see this immediately. The Supreme Admiral studied the intelligence reports with growing alarm. Are you certain about this data? Yes, sir. The humans have been planning this operation for over 50 years. This isn't just first contact. It's the opening move in a complete reorganization of galactic power. Back on the human ship, Maya received a private communication from an unexpected source. Intelligence Director Colmiran appeared on her screen, looking tired and worried. Captain, Rodriguez, I need to speak with you privately, he said. What I'm about to show you could prevent a galactic war. Maya accepted the secure channel and found herself looking at classified Imperial documents. What am I seeing, Director? The truth about our empire, Colmiran replied. We're not as strong as we appear. Our military is stretched across hundreds of worlds, dealing with constant rebellions and resistance movements. The Emperor's decision to mobilize everything against you will leave our colonies defenseless. Why are you telling me this? Because I've studied your species for the past several hours, Captain. You could have attacked our installations while we focused on your ships. You could have used our confusion to strike at our leadership. Instead, you asked for cooperation. I believe you when you say you want to build something better. Maya felt the weight of galactic history on her shoulders. What do you suggest? Help us fix our security problems instead of exploiting them. Show the Emperor that cooperation benefits everyone, not just humanity. Meanwhile, Captain Melody had been analyzing the human ship's technical specifications and made a remarkable discovery. Admiral Lyrale, their engineering principles could revolutionize our biotechnology. They've found ways to make organic systems work with mechanical ones that we never imagined. How so? Their ship isn't just carrying plants for decoration. The vegetation is integrated into the life support systems, the navigation computers, even the weapons targeting. They've created a true partnership between living and artificial intelligence. Admiral Lyrale realized the implications. If Sylvani biotechnology could be combined with human adaptive engineering, they might create ships and systems that surpassed anything the Empire possessed. Emperor Zarketh received reports from across his domain as the human broadcast continued to spread. Worlds that had been quiet for decades were suddenly alive with discussion and debate about alternatives to imperial rule. Your Majesty, one of his advisors reported, we're receiving requests for independence from 12 different sectors. The human message has reached every corner of the Empire. Then we must silence them before the infection spreads further, the Emperor declared. Supreme Admiral Vexithara prepared his fleet for attack, despite his growing doubts about the wisdom of the decision. All ships, target the human vessels. Prepare to fire on my command! Captain Rodriguez detected the weapons charging and made her final decision. Dr. Foster, activate the quantum beacon. Alert Earth Command that we need immediate assistance. The beacon sent its signal across space faster than light, reaching Sol's system in moments. Hidden throughout human space, ships that had been waiting for decades began their journey toward the Zephyrian capital. Admiral Vexithara, Maya said calmly, I strongly advise you to reconsider your attack. You're about to start a war that no one can win. We have more ships than you can imagine, Vexithara replied. So do we, Maya said simply. As if summoned by her words, new contacts began appearing on sensors throughout the system. Human ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel in formations that surrounded the entire Zephyrian fleet. Not just 7 ships, but 70. Not just one species, but representatives from worlds across the galaxy that had joined Earth's coalition. Impossible, breathed Emperor Zarketh as he stared at the tactical display. Captain Rodriguez stood up from her command chair for the first time since entering Zephyrian space. Your Majesty, members of the Galactic Cooperation Council, I present Earth's formal proposal for a new type of interstellar civilization. The communication channels filled with voices from dozens of species as representatives introduced themselves. The Korthax rebels who had fought imperial rule for decades, the Velian resistance that had preserved their culture despite occupation, independent traders who had dreamed of freedom from imperial taxes and regulations. Admiral Liralai watched in amazement as the galaxy revealed itself to be far more complex than anyone had imagined. Captain Rodriguez, how long have you been building this coalition? 47 years, Admiral. Earth made contact with our first ally the day after we detected your species' radio signals. We've been working toward this moment ever since. Intelligence. Director Cole Mirren realized the full scope of human planning and felt a mixture of admiration and fear. Captain, your species has been preparing for galactic citizenship for half a century. We've been preparing to contribute to galactic civilization, Maya corrected. We believe the galaxy is big enough for everyone to thrive, but only if we work together instead of fighting for dominance. Emperor Zarketh faced the most difficult decision of his reign. He could order an attack that would destroy the human ships but start a war that would tear the galaxy apart, or he could negotiate with species he had always considered inferior and find a way to adapt to a new reality. Captain Rodriguez, he said finally, what exactly are you proposing? A galactic council with equal representation for all intelligent species, Maya replied. Mutual defense agreements based on cooperation rather than domination. Trade relationships that benefit everyone instead of enriching a few. And most importantly, the recognition that diversity makes us all stronger. The Emperor looked around. His throne room had advisors who had spent their lives believing in imperial superiority. Some looked angry at the challenge to their power. Others looked thoughtful, as if considering possibilities they had never imagined. And if we refuse? Then the galaxy will move forward without you, Maya said sadly. We hope that won't be necessary, Your Majesty. The Empire has knowledge and capabilities that could benefit everyone. We'd rather have you as partners than opponents. As ships from dozens of species held position around the Zephyrian capital, the future of galactic civilization hung in the balance. The old order of imperial dominance faced the new possibility of cooperative equality, and everyone waited to see which path the galaxy would choose. The silence stretched across space as Emperor Zarketh stared at the tactical display showing ships from dozens of species surrounding his capital system. For 500 years, the Zephyrian Empire had been the undisputed power in the galaxy. Now, in a single day, that certainty had crumbled. Dr. Amanda Foster broke the silence with a voice that carried across the galaxy through the quantum communication network. Your Majesty, we understand this is a difficult moment. Change is never easy, especially when it comes suddenly. But we believe this moment offers opportunities that could benefit everyone. Emperor Zarketh looked around his throne room at advisors who had built their careers on imperial supremacy. Some still looked angry, clinging to the old ways. Others appeared thoughtful, perhaps seeing possibilities in this new reality. Dr. Foster, the Emperor said carefully, explain these opportunities you speak of. Amanda activated a holographic display that showed the galaxy from a new perspective. Instead of imperial territory marked in blue, the display showed trade routes, resource flows, and communication networks that connected worlds across space. Your Majesty, the Empire controls vast resources and possesses advanced technology. But managing such a large territory through force requires enormous energy and creates constant resistance. We propose a different approach. The display changed to show cooperative networks instead of controlled territories. Imagine if those same worlds chose to work with the Empire because they benefited from the relationship, not because they feared imperial punishment. Intelligence Director Cole Mirren studied the projections with growing interest. His years of managing security had shown him the enormous cost of maintaining control through force. Dr. Foster, what would this cooperation look like in practical terms? Lieutenant Commander Lisa Park joined the conversation from her engineering station. Director, we've been analyzing your defense grid vulnerabilities. Instead of exploiting them, we'd like to help you fix them. Our adaptive technology could make your security systems stronger than ever. Commander Kate Sullivan brought up tactical displays that showed how human and Zephyrian ships could work together. Your vessels are powerful but rigid in their capabilities. Our ships are flexible but limited in raw strength. Combined fleet operations could achieve things neither of us could manage alone. Admiral Lyrale had been listening to this exchange while coordinating with Silvani colonies throughout the galaxy. Captain Rodriguez, the Silvani Council has voted to formally withdraw from our exclusive alliance with the Empire. We're prepared to join your proposed Galactic Council as equal members. The announcement sent shockwaves through the Imperial Court. The Silvani had been loyal allies for 3 centuries, providing biological expertise and technological innovation. Their departure would leave huge gaps in Imperial capabilities. Captain Melody Nightbreeze transmitted detailed reports about human technology that had impressed her during her visit to their ship. Admiral, their integration of organic and mechanical systems could revolutionize our own biotechnology. They've achieved things we thought were impossible. Emperor Zarketh realized that losing the Silvani alliance would force the Empire to choose between adapting or declining. Admiral Lyrali, if we were to consider these proposals, what guarantees would we have that cooperation would benefit? The Empire? Captain Maya Rodriguez stood up from her command chair and spoke directly to the Emperor. Your Majesty, we offer the same guarantee we're asking from you. Good faith effort to make cooperation work for everyone. We're not asking you to trust us immediately. We're asking you to try working with us and judge the results. Across the galaxy, worlds that had been silent for decades were suddenly alive with discussion about the possibilities being offered. The human quantum broadcast had reached systems that the Empire had considered safely controlled, carrying messages of hope and change. Your Majesty, reported one of his communication officers, we're receiving thousands of messages from our colonies. Most are asking for information about the proposed Galactic Council. Colmiran brought disturbing intelligence to the Emperor's attention. Sire, our analysis shows that maintaining control through force is becoming increasingly expensive. Military spending now consumes 60% of our imperial budget, and rebellions are increasing every year. What are you suggesting, Director? That we might achieve better security through cooperation than through domination. The humans have demonstrated capabilities that could strengthen our defenses rather than threaten them. Dr. Foster activated another holographic display showing comparative analysis of imperial spending versus proposed cooperative networks. Your Majesty, the resources currently used to suppress rebellions could be redirected toward technological development and exploration. Everyone would benefit from increased prosperity and security. Supreme Admiral Vexathara had been studying the human fleet formations with professional interest. Despite his initial hostility, he found himself impressed by their tactical innovations and strategic planning. Captain Rodriguez, he said grudgingly, your approach to fleet coordination shows remarkable sophistication. How did you develop these techniques? Maya smiled. Admiral, we learned from studying your own tactical manuals, but we also incorporated ideas from every species we contacted. Diversity of thinking creates stronger solutions than any single approach. Captain Melody transmitted more observations from her visit to the human ship. Your Majesty, their approach to problem-solving could help us address challenges we've struggled with for decades. They don't just apply more force when something doesn't work, they try completely different approaches. Emperor Zarketh made the decision that would reshape galactic history. Dr. Foster, Captain Rodriguez, what would be the first step in implementing this Galactic Council proposal? Amanda and Maya exchanged glances before Maya responded. A temporary ceasefire, while representatives from all interested species meet to discuss the structure and principles of cooperative governance. And if these discussions fail, then everyone returns to their previous situations, but at least we will have tried to build something better. Admiral Lyrale coordinated with her fellow Silvani commanders to establish neutral meeting spaces for the proposed negotiations. Your Majesty, the Silvani offer our bioships as neutral territory for these discussions. Our vessels can provide suitable environments for multiple species. Intelligence Director Colmiran made a suggestion that surprised everyone. Your Majesty, I recommend that we share selected intelligence about galactic threats with the proposed council. There are dangers in space that affect all species, regardless of political affiliations. What kind of dangers? Automated weapons systems left behind by extinct civilizations, rogue artificial intelligences that threaten biological life, resource Depletion on colony worlds. These problems require cooperation to solve effectively. Dr. Foster nodded thoughtfully. Director, Earth's scientists have identified similar challenges. Working together, we might find solutions that no single species could develop alone. Lieutenant Commander Park made a technical proposal that captured everyone's attention. Your Majesty, we could begin cooperation immediately by sharing defensive technologies. Our adaptive systems could strengthen your security, while your advanced sensors could improve our early warning capabilities. Emperor Zarketh looked around his throne room one more time at advisors who had served the Empire faithfully for decades. Some still appeared resistant to change, but others seemed intrigued by the possibilities being offered. Very well, he said finally. The Zephyrian Empire agrees to participate in discussions about a galactic council, with the understanding that nothing is binding until formal agreements are reached. Cheers erupted across the communication network as representatives from dozens of species celebrated the Emperor's decision. For the first time in galactic history, cooperation might replace domination as the organizing principle of interstellar civilization. Captain Rodriguez addressed the combined fleets floating in space around the Zephyrian capital. Thank you all for your courage in making this moment possible. Today, we begin the work of building a galaxy where every species can thrive. Admiral Lyra Lee established the first joint command center aboard her flagship, where representatives from human, Sylvani, and Zephyrian forces would coordinate the transition to cooperative operations. Captain Melody became the first Sylvani officer to serve aboard a human vessel, beginning an exchange program that would spread throughout the developing alliance. Commander Sullivan and Lieutenant Commander Park worked with Zephyrian engineers to integrate defensive technologies that would benefit all three species. Dr. Foster prepared to become Earth's first official ambassador to the galactic community, working with diplomats from dozens of worlds to establish the framework for cooperative governance. Intelligence Director Cole Mirren began sharing data about galactic threats that had been classified for centuries, trusting that cooperative solutions would be more effective than imperial secrecy. Emperor Zarketh faced the challenging task of transforming an empire based on domination into a nation capable of equal partnership. Not all of his advisors supported the change, but the Emperor recognized that adaptation was preferable to decline. As the fleets began standing down from combat readiness, Captain Maya Rodriguez received new orders from Earth Command. Captain, you're needed back home to help prepare for the next phase of human expansion into the galaxy. Maya looked around her bridge at the crew that had made this historic moment possible. It's been an honor serving with all of you. Dr. Foster, the galaxy is in good hands. Admiral Lorelei sent a message to Sylvani colonies throughout the galaxy, announcing their new independence and the opportunities that lay ahead. My people, today we choose our own destiny among the stars. 3 months later, the First Galactic Cooperation Council convened aboard a massive bioship grown specially for the occasion. Representatives from 47 species gathered to establish principles for interstellar cooperation that would guide galactic civilization for centuries to come. Captain Rodriguez returned to Earth as a hero, but she knew the real work was just beginning. Humanity had earned its place in the galaxy, but now they had to prove they deserved it through their actions and contributions to the galactic community. Emperor Zarketh discovered that leading through cooperation required different skills than ruling through force, but the results exceeded his expectations. Former rebels became trading partners, and worlds that had drained imperial resources through constant resistance now contributed to galactic prosperity. The galaxy had changed forever in a single day, when a human captain proved that intelligence and determination could achieve what force and domination never could. The age of empire was ending, and the age of cooperation had begun.